Hello everybody, this is BobRoss, the gamer, not the painter. I am, as you may be aware, I've been playing Shadow Arrow for quite a while, but haven't really been on the competitive scene much. I've been more kind of a casual player, off and on, since pretty much the beginning. Lately I've been more active in terms of the forums and putting up articles on shadowarrow.net, so you may know me from there. As you may know, I am particularly fond of the rogue classes, especially Serena. And so this is me in the World Championship regional qualifiers in Europe and Africa, playing as Serena. As you may know, I did very well in this championship here, in these qualifiers. Yeah, this is my very first game here against K.A. Final Rain. I believe K.A. Final Rain is a girl, so I will try to refer to her as feminine, even though it typically is kind of a default for me to talk about players as boys. I apologize to anybody if I get their gender wrong. It's hard to tell based on a handle like Final Rain. So I just made a mistake there. I don't know if you noticed, I resourced my ankle breaker, and that's going to come back later to hurt me. But just pay attention here as I go through. I'm going to talk about each of my decisions, try to teach you a little bit about my thought processes and how I play. Now that may or may not have been a mistake. I resourced an ill-gotten gains. Having two ill-gotten gains in your opening hand isn't great, but it may have been a better idea to resource the Midnight Sentinel just to have a little bit of insurance for myself. My thoughts here, I think, were that I was going to play that Ironmonger and then play the Sentinel on him and have these kind of two tough allies that could hold the board against, whatever opening salvo Banebow tossed at me. But that was sort of naive of me. Banebow can ping both of them for 2 damage, right? And then use a Rampant Krygon to take one out entirely. And there we see a Snare Trap, so the Snare Trap's going to take the other out either way. But either way, I opt for an ally with a 2/5. That's pretty respectable. But like I said, probably going to get eaten by Banebow in this next round. So one thing I want to point out to you guys is I am American. This is the European regionals. The reason that I'm competing in these is because just the time, this wound up working out for me much better in terms of the timing. But because it was the only time that worked for me, it was also 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning when I started playing this. So I was kind of groggy, kind of out of it. So please forgive me some of my mistakes. As you see there, I just resourced a second ill-gotten gains. So I've resourced, at this point, 2 ill-gotten gains. I've got 1 on board, and you can see there is 1 in the graveyard. So I'm really counting on that 1 ill-gotten gains on board to tide me over. And now you can see why that is a huge mistake. Okay, and so Final Rain, like I said, got that Krygon out, was able to take out my ally. So I put all this energy into getting that ally out there. I got rid of my ankle breakers, I got rid of my extra copies of ill-gotten gains, and that ally goes away trivially, right? Barely does any good at all. Okay, now that assassination is no good to me right now, right? I've got 2 weapons in hand. I figure I will try to steal some cards. I can't rely on ill-gotten gains for draw at all in this game, so best thing I can do is steal some cards. And hope that if the board gets swarmed too much, I can get some more card advantage by playing with that Spirit Shuriken. Now this is normally not a bad plan, but you'll see later that this specific Banebow deck that Final Rain is playing is actually kind of equipped to deal with Spirit Shuriken pretty well. Okay, so we got a Morbid Acolyte, the Kragon's dead. Now, I do have a resource advantage versus Final Rain at this point, but I don't have the board presence. It's not easy for me to take out her allies. They all have, with these high health Morbid Acolytes. And now she plays a Disciple of Aldmore. So remember before I was talking about how worst case scenario I get swarmed and then I have my Spirit Shuriken to save me. Well, now that's not an option. Right? Disciple of Aldmore is going to be completely immune to that Spirit Shuriken. Now I suppose I could have gone for the Disciple instead there. Maybe that would have been a good move. But I didn't. So here I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to play a Nightshade. Banebow's going to knock it out with the ability. And then next turn I can play that the Shadow Knight. Try to pull back another Nightshade. Not an awful plan, but those two Disciples of Aldmore are really going to start hurting me now. Right? Shadow Knight's not going to stick. Okay, but I got lucky here, right? I drew a Black Garb. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm saved, right? The Black Garb will stop the two Disciples of Aldmore, and then I'm safe. And Final Rain also got lucky with that Shriek of Vengeance. And so now we're back to where we were. The Disciples of Aldmore are going to take me down slowly, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Okay, so you see here how I'm pointing out luck a little bit here and there because it's one of my pet peeves that people that lose in this game, they make a big deal about how their opponent got lucky, and you see every turn there's moments where I get lucky, she gets lucky. It goes back and forth. It's very rare that all the luck is completely one-sided. Basically what you want to do when you build decks is make a deck that will capitalize as much as possible on the good luck and not be punished too much from the bad luck that everybody's going to have. All right. And I think when you look at this game, and you see why did I lose, I think luck is the last explanation you want to use. It's obviously some big errors on my part, and interesting deck from Final Rain that is both strong and not what I was expecting, right? She did surprise me with some of these things. The Disciples of Aldmore are not commonly played cards, even though they are very solid. Certainly good against Spirit Shuriken. So now she gets her draw card, which doesn't really matter at this point. She's pretty much got this game no matter what. I've got, if I had a lot of draw, it would be possible for me to try to race her down from 19 now as I start to take over the board. But I don't have enough life or draw to do that. So. Yeah, and you can see things are not looking great for me. Okay. So I think I got outplayed here. Final Rain brought a good deck, did well. And I made some really stupid mistakes at the beginning. Kind of just wasn't thinking much, just haphazardly resourcing cards based on this one specific plan I had. that wasn't even a good plan. And this is what happened. You'll also note, and this is true for most of my matchups in this tournament, none of them are particularly strong. None of them are things that are auto wins for me. This deck the Serena deck that I use here, is kind of well suited to playing against a lot of different types of decks, but it's not an auto win in many situations. Most of these are actually like tough to medium to tough matchups for me. So as you can see, I lost that one.